Welcome back to Novistra. My name is Jesse.
My name's Sandosh.
And my name is Parsa.
In today's episode, we thought we'd raise an interesting topic: quality versus quantity. Who wants to start?
Okay, I'll start. So this is an interesting topic. I feel like we all have challenges with this, and we all face quality and quantity in our own ways in our lives and in our businesses. I don't know what we're gonna like. I don't know if this is gonna be a hot topic.
Yep.
this is gonna kind of be like a mini hot seat. I can kind of see. You know what I mean?
I think
so. You know so. Yeah. But quality versus quantity is kind of controversial. It's some people just like to perfect things and are perfectionists. If that sounds more like you like to take your time. You're very very tedious of your high standards.
Yes.
You don't like to really. It's my way or the highway type of person, right? They don't like to go with others or with society and norm.
Yep.
They're very my quality, my standards.
Yep.
And there's others that are quantity,
Yep.
which is just shoot and pray kind of thing, or just like just take 100% of the shots or 100 shots and see which one goes in, which one doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, that's basically it.
I think it definitely depends as well. I think just because you prefer quality, it doesn't mean that, my standard will be the same as your standard or your standard, right?
For sure, yeah.
Or if your quantity, maybe my quantity in terms of posting Instagram videos is I want to post 3 Instagram videos a week, whereas your quantity is like 6 videos, right? So I think the scale, it could always change. It still always depends.
You can't put it on a pedestal.
Right.
Like there's no comparison.
Yeah.
Because like you said, everyone's quality is different, and that's with anything in life.
Yeah,
right?
and I feel like for everything, it's different as well. Like in terms of businesses, in terms of life in general, I feel like quantity and quality is kind of different in a sense. Like sometimes other things could be more important. Quality can kind of outweigh quantity in some aspects. And for example, vice versa as well. Right. So for you guys, what would you say is more important, quality or quantity when you guys start your business?
I think Parsha should start.
Okay.
And we'll see why.
Okay. So for me, basically, what I'll say is I like quality more. I think quality is important, right?
I think a lot of you guys will be able to relate with what Parsa says.
Okay. So a little bit of background. For me, I'm very tedious, and I was like this growing up. I was just like, do whatever you can and do the best you can.
Yeah.
Quote unquote the best you can, right? The definition of best you can has changed over the years, right? And then quality is just like, for me, it's the best or nothing. And one thing that I'm having a challenge, which we'll dive into the topic later in a bit, and this is like a real challenge I'm having right now, is like, I feel like I tend to perfect things. And I'm a perfectionist.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You guys already know this.
We can back you up on that one.
Right. So it's just like I'm trying to perfect things and get it the way I want with my standards, as you would say. And when doing so, it's taking me more time.
Yeah.
So for example, let me make it a video. So let me make an example so it's easier to understand.
Yeah.
So if I'm making an Instagram video, for example, making a reel, right? Whatever the video is, I'm like tedious. I'm like, oh, this gotta be perfect. I'm nitpicking
every little detail, every second. It has to be cut the right way.
And then in doing so, it's basically pushing me back in a time aspect, right? You're taking more time. In an energy aspect, that's self-explanatory.
Confidence-wise, you're not confident in what you're doing.
In a sense, yeah.
Right.
It kind of dumbs your confidence and it lowers
Second-guessing yourself.
You're trying to be a perfectionist until you love it. It's not about doing the best. You're just like, I need to love it in order
Right,
to
exactly.
And the problem is, if we're being realistic, most things in life, you're never going to be like, this is 100% perfect.
Yeah, nothing's ever perfect.
No, exactly. Nothing's ever perfect.
Yeah.
But it's weird because I was never like this growing up.
Right.
Like never.
It was just recently you've been feeling like this, or?
I feel like I feel like perfectionist and self-confidence is kind of correlated. I think.
Do you think it was because you started your own business, or was this before?
I think this was before. I think this was probably started developing throughout high school.
Okay.
I would say, but it started taking a toll on me now, which
you realize it now. Yeah.
So, and then like you said, everyone's different. Everyone's definition of quality and everyone's definition of high quality is different.
Right. Or standards or
whatever.
whatever.
Right. Yeah. So it's just after a time where I was just, no, this is not good enough. I want to do this, or like I want this to be adjusted. It got to the point where it was driving me crazy mentally.
Right.
Inside out.
Yeah.
Right.
And doing so, what happened was I found times as I was doing this, I just started going to like what was a priority started to go back on a second list, and then to third to-do list, and then the fourth to-do
Pushing
list,
it
and then
back.
pushing it back.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
eventually, I never posted that video.
Right.
Or never did that
So
task.
basically, a video that should have taken just a few hours would just take you days,
And then
and it just kept pushed back, and then you just don't post it.
days, and then just no post, and then it's just
Yikes,
saved
yeah.
in your Instagram drafts.
So here's a
basically.
question: when you look at this video, days and days, do you keep changing things, or do you just look at it and you're like, I don't like it, I'm gonna do it tomorrow?
So that's what the thing. When I look at it, I'm like unmotivated, and I'm like, I don't even know what I want to change in it.
So
I
you
don't
don't
even
even
start.
change it.
I just look at it and I'm like, I just take a deep breath and I'm like, all right, next video.
So would you say you're overwhelmed?
Overwhelmed and disappointed.
I see.
So you regret it now, in a sense.
Regret? Okay, I can't say regret.
Yeah.
Because I know the issue. We all know the issue.
Yeah.
And this is a real life I'm talking about. Like this
Yeah.
is like this
No,
is an
100
actual
yeah.
example of something that's happening right now with me.
right.
And you can say it if you want, right? But like what happens is just like after, like it doesn't even become regret because I acknowledge it. But acknowledging an issue is one thing, but actually taking action to solve that issue and overcome that challenge is
Yeah.
another.
That's the
right?
hardest part. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because obviously Parse is a perfectionist, and a lot of people can relate to that. And I think in my perspective, us starting our own businesses, we all have a certain standard that we want to reach.
Oh,
Right?
yeah,
we have
for
a high
sure.
standard. We want to reach that standard.
Yeah.
Right. And that could tend to lead us to be a perfectionist. Right. At the end of the day, my view on it is this. I think overall, I would say I'm quality over quantity. But at the end of the day, when you're starting out, especially, sometimes you just need to get content out there. And at the end of the day, your content is going to only improve as the days go on, right?
Agree.
I agree, but you said you got to put some videos out there to start.
Right.
I agree, but if they're not worth the high quality, don't you think there's
You
not?
shouldn't post it.
Yeah. Why should you post it to begin with?
So I have a standard just like you have a standard, right? We all have a standard.
Yeah.
I can't put a number to my standard. I have a very high standard, but what I would say is if I'm 90% happy with it,
Okay.
I'll post it. For example, right? So I create and I edit videos, right? Every new video that I create and post, that's not my favorite video every single time. That's not realistic.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Every time I make a new video, it's not realistic for that video to then be my favorite video.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So at the end of the day, I have my standard, right? But I also feel like it's good to have, like, for example, I need to post this many times per week, right? And you don't want to just throw out some garbage, but if you're still happy with it, sometimes it's good to get something out there because at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to end up blowing up.
That's true.
Okay, that's true. I get it. But let's be honest, right? Have you posted and you're like, I didn't like the video, and you just kept it whatever and you never archived it?
Never.
Never. Okay.
I have.
I have.
Yeah, I
And I'm
have.
just being honest.
Yeah.
Right. And you see, this is the thing. One thing that I'm actually inspired because I love that how you're like, I don't care mentality. Amazing. And it's that's what I'm trying to work to get to.
Right.
Right. It's not for me. It's not even that I care about, like, it's not even like, it's funny because I think confidence and perfectionism is correlated. They go hand to hand. But I'm not unconfident in the aspect of, I'm not scared of judgment. I don't care about that. Because in life, we all know that people will judge no matter what. Even if you do good or bad, or you're the best person in the world, or you're the worst person, there'll always be someone
Judging you.
Yeah.
Yes.
has something to say. So that from like a kid, like when I was a child, it never bothered me.
Right.
So I didn't care about it.
Yeah.
But what's weird is like I watch it and I watch it and I watch it and I just overthink to the point where I don't even know what reality is. Does that make sense? And then I'm just like watching it and like it gets to a point where I don't know what reality is, and I can't put it on a pedestal anymore, where it's just like I feel like I'm getting brain fog.
So we've been talking a lot about social media, right? But in a different context, for example, right? You have the business Escape, right?
Yeah.
Lawn care, right? Cleaning up properties. So I want to ask you this. After you finish cleaning up a property, if you walk around that property for another 20 minutes, realistically, you're going to find other imperfections with the property, are you not?
Oh yeah, no, every time. Like when it comes to landscaping, I feel like it's a totally different game. For me, it's always quality over quantity every single time. In a season, if I were to have only like 6 contracts and I can make every 6 of them happy, I would rather that. Because eventually, in terms of businesses within landscaping, those happy clients are going to turn into even more happy clients. They'll refer you over to whoever, like their neighbors,
friends, family,
exactly,
relatives,
right? So in terms of that, especially during my first season, right, we were really just like based on quality every single time, right? If we're there, we're going to make sure the customer's happy, right? We want to see their reactions. We'll stay there the entire day if we have to, right? So in terms of landscaping, I feel like quality is very important.
Critical, right?
So you answered the question, but I was trying to ask it in a different way. I guess what I was trying to say was, you say quality, right? And you're saying, you know, it's very important for me to have this certain standard, right? Your standard is different than the client standard, right? Or we presume, right? You don't know that for sure, but you'd guess, right? So what I was trying to say was like, technically, if you walk around that property for 20 minutes, right, afterwards, or 20, 30 minutes, whatever, you'll find many more imperfections that will keep making you think, oh, it's not as good as I thought, right?
But there's just some things that you can't control.
That's
you
fair.
know,
That's
there's
fair.
just some things where it's just like, oh, I could do this.
Are you sure though?
Why do you say that?
Are you like, that's what I'm saying though. It's just because, isn't that what separates us from the rest? That's what goes in my head.
But it's not realistic to be like, for him to be like, I'm going to spend 6 hours cleaning up the property. That takes an hour.
It isn't, for
but
sure.
That's the difference though. So in terms of the services, like I can go to the client and be like, yo, like this is something that I would suggest. We can also provide this and all that, but it's
more time and more work.
Exactly, right? Okay. But I like, don't get me wrong, I'd love to do it. It's as long as the customer wants it and it's worth my time as well. You see, this
is it's so controversial. I don't even know if I can say controversial. It's just so mixed emotions, right? It's just like, you can't put it on paper.
Yeah.
Because happy, the definition of happy.
You can't quantify happiness, right?
You cannot quantify.
Everyone's scale is different.
Exactly. You cannot quantify satisfactory. You cannot quantify excellent. You cannot quantify any of these words that we use.
I love that you say that, because there's some videos where it's like, to you, it's not perfect.
Right.
But when I see it, I'm like, yo, this is sick. Okay. Like, this is like top of the tier.
100%. So that's where for me, that's why I'm always like trying to like learn and go out of my comfort zone to see more perfectionism.
Yeah.
So I know this might sound weird, but when I'm around other quote unquote perfectionists like me, I don't want to say I get inspired, but I get curious. I get intrigued, because I'm like, okay, I want to know this guy's perspective on this task that I just did, and see if he can flip the narrative and say something or do something that's better than what I was expecting. Or so say if I do a job, I take a picture of it, I'm happy with it. For me, it's an A+. Let's put it on a pedestal of A+ and A's.
Okay.
The client thinks it's an A+. I show it to a friend or another contractor. Let's talk about construction wise, let's say. Or another homeowner. And they're like, it's good, but to make it great, you can do this.
Okay.
And that goes from A+ to A++. So then at the end of the day, what's the definition of perfectionist? Right? That's the way I look at it.
They surpass the scale.
Right. So you can literally, and we all know there's no definition of perfect.
Yeah.
Right? So we could dedicate our whole lives to one task and you still won't perfect it.
It's true.
In a sense, technically speaking. But then that's where I get lost. That's where, for me, like when going back to content creating and me creating a video, where I'm like overthinking so much that I'm like, this is not good. This needs to be shorter. This clip needs to be longer. And I'm micro adjusting because in my head, I'm like, these micro adjustments will build up for the masses.
Right.
But then in my head, when I'm doing so many, I get overwhelmed. And I just get lost. And I'm like, I just turn off the phone or turn off the laptop and I never get back to it.
I think,
right? So it's weird. It's hard to say.
That's tough. Like, it's hard to deal with that.
Here's the way I see it. I believe that when you start something, over time, the quality improves. That's why I feel like when you're starting something out, have a standard, right? Have a certain standard to make sure you have you provide enough quality. But at the end of the day, you need to get quantity for the fact that, like you said as well, you need to learn. And you learn through experience. And look what you just said right there. You said, when I get overwhelmed because I have such high standards and such high quality expectations, I give up. So you just stop doing it in all.
Which is realistically speaking, which is really dumb.
Right. It's counterproductive. You're trying to be a perfectionist.
You did all that work for nothing.
Right, for nothing. Right.
So that's why I believe if you push out content or whatever it is, cutting grass, if you try to do more and more, you'll both learn and you'll be able to improve upon the quality as you go, because you'll have something to compare it to.
Okay.
Right? You can look back.
Okay, that makes sense. But you're creating a video for a client.
Yes.
Your client wants this, and you're trying to deliver it to their needs.
Yes.
Do you not get nervous though? Do you not, in your head, do you not get doubts that what if they're not happy? Because at the end of the day, we want our clients to be happy with whatever it is, right?
Yes.
Do you not get worried? Do you not get, I don't want to say curious, but do you not get a sense of train of thought that starts to be processed?
Yes.
That's like, what if doubts? What if my client is not happy? Or what if they don't love it, they like it?
Yes.
Or what if the client's a really nice person, and because I know the way they are, they're not going to hurt my feelings, but they're not going to be super happy with it? Do you not get you get these thoughts? Do you not?
Yes. I would argue, and tell me if you agree, I would say that all of our expectations are so high that they're higher than our clients anyways. That's what I would say.
Sometimes I
I
do
do
agree.
agree.
I do agree, yeah.
But you also got to think about, why did the clients come to you to begin with? Right?
Right.
Social media, for example, if they go through your things and there's like, wow, like this looks like an amazing service, this looks like an amazing business, obviously they came to you for a reason.
Right.
Right? Whereas like if they didn't know anything about you, sure, you can have those curiosities where it's like, oh, are they gonna like my service? Sure, you can think that, but they're coming to you to begin with for a reason. So you have to have sort of like confidence in yourself as well.
I agree.
Right. So, exactly.
I would
do
say
agree
it's
with that.
even more difficult for businesses like your guys, because for me, they can look at my Instagram page
That's
and
true,
see
yeah.
what I do.
Agreed.
But for someone like you, Parcel, let's say they're looking for a real estate agent, right? They could see what you've done, but they don't know how you interact one-on-one.
They don't know the behind the scenes.
Right,
Yeah.
behind the scenes and interact, sure. But for me, in my instance, no deal is the same. In real estate, no deal is ever the same. So you might buy a property, and you might buy the same exact property down the street, the same exact one, same price, whatever. The deal might not be the same.
Right.
The client might not be the same. Because why? Because their definition of happy and their definition of perfect or excellent or their needs is different than the other.
Right.
That's true, yeah.
Right?
That's true.
And the same goes for you. You're cutting grass. Someone's grass might want it to be cut shorter. Someone might want it to be cut longer.
Yeah.
Right? Or they want it to be edged properly or edged differently. Everyone's definition is different.
But yeah, exactly. But that's where kind of like we come in and we can kind of get an idea on our clients. You know, that's where the personal connections are very important, right? You
Those
talk to your
conversations
clients.
are important.
Yeah, exactly. You talk to your clients and you kind of understand what they want,
Right.
Right. For example, for H Escape, before we do anything, we go talk to them, have a conversation at their doorstep, say, hey, like, what are you expecting, right?
Okay,
Because
I like that.
everyone likes something different.
I like that. You set the standards in a sense, right?
Yeah.
You say this is how it's going to go, and you're going to work towards getting that goal.
You
Yep.
get that goal, and sure, you can also go beyond that.
Beyond
as well.
that goal. So that's what, okay. I call that under promise and over deliver. That usually works 90% of the time.
Right.
Right? And it's not a secret because it's just we just do it, right?
Yeah, it's just who we are.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, growing up, you know, when your parents, right? Like you want, like there's like that toy at Toys R Us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Or you see that you want that game from EB Games or whatever that case may be, and then you're like, Mom, can I go buy it? But you want to ask before you ask that game or that toy or that Lego set, whatever, it's $20. And you see that other one that's $50.
Yeah.
You go and be like, Mom, can I go buy that Lego set? Can you buy me the Lego set that's
Yeah,
$50?
Yep.
And obviously she's gonna say no. So, but in the first place, you just wanted the $20
Right.
one.
In the back of your mind.
Right,
Yeah.
under promise, and you're like,
Yeah.
okay, fine, just to make up for saying no.
I mean, yeah.
Can you go buy me the $20
Can I
one?
at least get this one then?
Right, and they're like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Right, so under promise,
Yeah.
over deliver.
Right.
It's something we've been doing
Yeah,
unconsciously
Yeah.
since we were kids.
that's true.
right.
That's true.
Yeah, and these are sales tactics as well, right?
They are.
When things
They
are
are.
on sale, it's the exact same thing,
Yeah.
right?
It's negotiation.
Yeah.
Right. This is literally what it was, and for me, that came naturally.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot of people that can relate to that
Yeah.
example, right?
Yeah.
But that's and then in my world though, in my head, I'm like, if in my perfectionism, the perfection part of me,
Yeah.
would be like, I'd go to my mom and I just ask for a $20 one right off the bat, and she was supposed to buy it for me, right? So it's like, why though? You get what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, I know it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
but that's just how it is.
It's just how it is.
It's just
you know?
how it is, and
Yeah.
you'll understand. No one will understand it until they experience it for themselves.
Yeah, they got actually. Yeah,
They gotta experience it.
Self-aware.
Some will relate to what we're saying right now. Some will not, and be like, "This is like, this doesn't make sense at all." But when you get into it, you're like, it's like a deep rabbit hole. Basically, it's a black pit, basically.
That's true. Yeah.
I could definitely say I've definitely had traits over the years of a perfectionist. I think one of the main things is that you envision a perfect scenario, right? You envision it happening perfectly.
The way you
and
envision
most
it.
of the time, it's just not realistic,
Agreed.
right? So at the end of the day, it's however you make of it, right? You want to always have your high standards. You want to always strive for excellence, but you have to be realistic and understanding that you're not going to always finish something and be like, this is the best thing I've ever done, right?
No.
You should walk away and be like, I'm happy with this, and I think I gave it my all. But, you know, if every single time you did something, it was the best thing ever, then it's just not realistic.
Exactly. And like in terms of like even for AAT, I love when I have high quality videos and things to post on media. But there's also times where it's like, we won a championship, right? We went on a tournament, won a championship. But I didn't have Jesse at that time, right? So I had no one to capture the moments or nothing. But there was like people from the stands, like taking photos and like videos.
Right.
They sent me those videos, horrible quality. But it's one of those moments where it's like, it has to be posted because everyone needs to witness what I just saw, right?
In that moment, something is better than nothing.
Exactly.
Right. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
So regardless, I still posted it, and to this day, I'm like, I don't regret it.
Right.
But obviously, in the back of your head, I wish it was like high quality. I wish I had it. You know.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So that's where I come from.
Yeah.
So my example, Homes by Parsa Instagram account. I'm not posting at all.
Yeah.
It's because of that.
Yeah.
It's just something that I'm facing right now, and I'm just it's a challenge I'm trying to overcome. And it's funny because you see, in business, in character development, in relationship development, we all know the problems, we all know the solutions. We just fail to execute.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what everything.
Yeah. Execution is like the hardest part.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things, I feel like we as humans are so capable of that. Like we don't even know it.
Yeah.
We're way more capable than we think we are.
Oh yeah,
Right.
definitely.
100%, right?
Yeah.
We're using only a percentage, a small fraction of what we're really capable of.
Yep.
But it's our mindset, it's our limited beliefs, it's our imagination, it's our quote unquote definition of perfect and our standards that's limiting us.
Yeah,
Right? So it's just.
It's funny because we've learned all these things over the years. Like I'm sure you guys have heard in school, it's like the hardest part is just putting the pen to the paper, right? And we know that. We know all of these things, but I think it goes back to an even more interesting topic, which is like your mind needs to outsmart, like your mind needs to dictate your body.
That's true,
right?
yeah.
For example, when you wake up in the morning and you're dead tired, right? Your mind needs to say, I'm getting up. Right? Your body's tired. Your body doesn't want to get up.
It goes back to the execution, you know?
Right.
Like you
Execution.
can say everything that you want to say out loud, but now are you really going to do it?
Right.
Like it's all about you actually getting up and doing the work.
For example, for the viewers, we go to the gym together, and one of my most favorite things that we do is we plank afterwards.
Yeah,
right?
I love
And the
that.
plank is the best example of mind over body,
Yeah.
right? Because in terms of a plank, you can you can go until your body gives out, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's a possibility, and it's how strong you are, like how strong you are in the mind, right?
It's all mental. thing.
Mental.
a mental.
It's a great example. Like continue, because I think like you see when we're about to start, the timer starts from 0.
Yep.
Yeah.
In our heads, let's be honest, we all say at least 4 minutes to each other. In our heads.
Yeah.
In
Right.
our heads, we say to ourselves, at least 4 minutes.
And that's the perfect scenario.
Right.
We're just all competitive. So
Right.
it's like, even if we pass this 4 minutes, we're like, nah, I'm giving up. Like, I'm not giving up. I'm winning this
Yeah.
thing. Like,
Right.
I got to be Parsa. I got to be
Right,
Jesse.
exactly.
So I'm just like staring you guys down and we're going at it. You
And
know?
then I'll see like Jesse's face and he's
Yeah.
like, give up. I'm like in my head, I'm like,
Yeah.
don't give up till
Yeah.
he gives
And
up.
it's also
Yeah.
meant, like, as soon as you see one person struggling, it kind of gives you boosted. Like,
A
yo,
boost.
I gotta keep going until they give up. You know, like,
Yeah.
it's all a mind thing at the end
But
of the
I
day.
won't lie. This competitiveness, this like us competing, competition is good in my opinion.
Yeah.
Competition is great.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how you use it.
Exactly,
Because
yeah.
one of the things that I love is like comparison is a thief of joy.
Yes.
Right? So there's good comparison, there's bad comparison.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
You can compare to help.
Yep.
The way you like the plank, for example.
Yep.
Right? Because I'm telling you, if we were all to plank individually, like each
It's not the same, man.
it's
We would not
the
go
same.
nearly as
Yeah.
wrong.
We would
No
not
way.
go nearly.
Yeah.
No way.
We almost hit like what do we almost hit like 5 minutes?
Almost 5 minutes.
We
right?
motivate each other.
Yeah.
In a sense, right?
But
Yeah.
I honestly, I'm 80% sure I can say that none of us, or at least maybe one of us, would at least hit that goal
Alone.
alone.
Yeah.
Maybe only one of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we all did it because
Yeah.
why? Because we were together, and it's just mindset.
And
of
we
a mindset.
always like kind of push each other to do this at the end of a workout.
Yeah.
Whereas like some days when I go alone, in
You
the
won't do
back
it. You
of my
don't do it.
head, it was actually funny because me and Parsa went to the gym one day and he was busy.
Yeah.
Me and Parsa go downstairs to
Yeah.
the Mavati, right?
Mavati, I remember.
And then we're just like, all right, it's time to hit the plank. And then me and Parsa were just like, oh.
We look at each other.
We look at each other,
and we're like,
not here.
Jesse's not here. Let's go.
we went right back upstairs and we were out of there.
Right.
See that? Yeah.
That's us living comfortably.
And this actually relates back to, our discussion, because in terms of perfectionism, I think an important thing to, prevent perfectionism is having someone to hold you accountable. And this goes back to us planking together, right? We have each other to hold each other accountable,
Exactly.
right? And just like you guys, when you guys decided to not plank, because I wasn't there, you guys overthought and ended up leaving, right?
Yeah.
If you have people to talk you back into it, right? Like when Parsa's sitting alone at night and he's watching that video that he's going to post and he says, you know what, I'm just not going to post it. If we're there next to him, we're going to say to him, you're posting that video.
Exactly.
You're posting that video.
And that's actually a real life scenario. Like last night we were on the phone before I went to bed.
Yeah.
And you were giving a talk like, yo, you have to post this.
Yeah.
Stop it, right? You remember? You were like going at it.
Yep.
It was a mini hot seat,
Yep.
basically.
Yep.
And this definition of accountability and keeping each other accountable helps a lot, because you see, it's all mental. It's
all
literally
mental.
a mental numbers game, if you want to say it.
Yeah.
Because you're like in your head, you're limiting belief yourself. You're capping yourself here, and you being over here are literally uplifting our capabilities and that limit that you're putting. So you're saying like, oh no, you have to do it. Once you start saying it and saying it, you start believing in it.
That's true.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
You start having a sense of truth in it, and you start thinking, okay, no, he's right. I can actually do this.
Yeah.
And you go for it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think this kind of goes to what I want to say. This is a saying that I heard recently, and it's been starting to go in my head, and it's kind of like getting engraved.
Okay.
It's like me going through overcoming challenges like this, like perfectionism, right? And perfecting things. I was speaking to my coach and I told you this, but he was like, Parsa, what type of person are you? And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, are you a load, aim, fire type of person or a load, fire, aim type of person? And I took like 30 seconds to answer that. And I was like, I get what you're trying to say right now. And he's like, you only get to pick two in life, basically. You either load and you fire, right? And you have no aim and you're just shooting all over the place. Or you load and you aim, but you don't shoot, but you don't fire.
That's true. Yeah.
Right.
So you could literally build yourself to become the perfect person, the perfect editor, the perfect basketball player, the perfect whatever you want to say, whatever your goal is. But if you don't shoot, if you don't put your effort,
Then all of that for no reason.
for nothing. It's literally you go all the way there and you just don't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you like that kind of gives you a sense of what you have to.
And when you do shoot, you learn so much from it.
Agree.
Right?
Agree.
Right.
And you also get feedback. For example, like I remember you posted your videos, right? In the beginning, like you had your standards.
Yeah.
But then as you kept posting more and more, you got a lot of traction.
Right.
Right. And the more traction you got, now you get a lot of people giving you feedback, looking out for you.
Yep.
And that's how you improved all your other videos as well.
Yeah.
Right. So
The same can be said for you, right? And especially if you're starting small, if you're kind of like what my shoes are, if you're starting, and this is what anyone, right? If you're starting small and you're just about to begin a business, or a company, or you're about to just a new version of yourself, for example, you want something that you want to improve on,
Yeah.
right? And you're doubting yourself that people don't like this at the beginning. What do you have to lose?
that's true.
You're only posting for the small number of people.
You're just starting. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Why are you perfecting things? This is what you said
Right.
to me.
Right.
Why are you, Parsa? You're like, Jesse was like, Parsa, why are you perfecting things for the small amount of people that are watching?
Right.
When later on you can start actually perfecting things when you start getting those experiences.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this starts
And
making more
even
sense.
like when you have an business account, like if I were to go onto a business account and I just see like 7-8 posts, sure they can be like high quality, but like yo, you only have 7-8 posts and like
Is
that's
that
it.
going to outweigh the fact that those posts are amazing? Maybe,
yeah.
right? You're gonna be like, why do they only have 7 posts?
Exactly.
You might think
You know,
that they stole the post. You don't know, right?
Like they might just be like a small company. You
Right.
never know.
Right.
And I remember when you first started out, I was like, yo, why did you just post like a bunch of things at once? They're great. Like they were like high quality. But
Yeah.
you just like, yo, like I don't have an audience yet.
Yeah.
I am trying to build my audience. And that's when I'm like, you know what? Like he's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think an important thing too is like, we all accept the fact that we're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
We're going to make mistakes
For sure.
no matter what. No matter
Live
how
and learn.
prepared we are, we're going to make mistakes.
Right.
Right. So if we think about this logically, if we're going to make mistakes, wouldn't we rather get the mistakes out early rather than later?
100%.
If we're perfecting a bunch of videos, that means that those perfected videos are going to have the mistakes, right? If we're pushing out more content or whatever it is, right? If we get those mistakes out early, right, then we have more confidence to have higher standards in the future.
And then I agree on that one. And there's something that we all have in us. Some scale it more, some scale it less. Urgency.
Right.
Urgency is very important.
Yeah.
In life, right? If you don't have urgency,
You ain't getting nowhere.
right? Literally, because urgency is literally what you can have. Okay, let me say it in terms. You can have a car. If you don't have fuel, your fuel is the urgency. That car ain't getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you need urgency in order to grow, in order to advance, in order to develop.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I feel like if you have more urgency, you'll have more desire, more confidence to just take that step forward and step forward, and then you'll eventually just build up and you'll just grow.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be able to reflect, right? For example, we keep using the social media example, but let's talk about anything, right, in life. If you sit there and you say, I'm not doing this, it's not perfect, right? At the end of the day, you have to be honest with yourself and say, you know what? Maybe I just don't have enough urgency.
Right.
And that hurts to say, and a lot of times people won't admit that, but at the end of the day, it's the truth.
Yeah, like you have to admit nothing in life is perfect.
Right.
You can't be perfect. No one is perfect. Nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Yep.
Right? But you have to have your own standards.
Right.
And that's how you have to live, right?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. That's basically it.
Yeah.
So,
Do you guys have anything else you want to add? Or I think that kind of wraps up the topic here. I mean, I guess I could say we all kind of agree on the fact that you need to have high standards and you need to produce quantity, right? I wouldn't say quality nor quantity is better than, one another.
what he's really trying to say is you're supposed to be producing quality quantity.
And that's perfectionism.
You overthought on that one.
And yeah, that pretty much wraps it up. Do you guys have anything else you want to say, or?
That's about
No,
it.
that's about it. That's about it.
We appreciate you guys watching this episode. Leave some feedback in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.